In a world full of chaos, distractions, and judgment, there is a power we often overlook: our ability to remain unshaken. What if I told you the most powerful thing you can do in life is not to react, not to expose your emotions to the world so easily? What if the key to peace, clarity, and true strength lies in keeping certain parts of yourself hidden, reserved only for you? Today, we'll explore why you should never expose yourself, physically, emotionally, or mentally. This is powerful. This is wisdom from the ages. In our hyper-connected world, we're constantly encouraged to put ourselves out there, to share everything: our thoughts, emotions, struggles, and even our achievements. But what if I told you that exposing yourself, especially without careful thought, could weaken your inner strength? Stoicism teaches us the value of self-containment, the power in keeping certain things to ourselves. 1. Introduction to Stoicism. Over 2,000 years ago, Stoicism was born in the heart of ancient Greece, with philosophers like Zeno of Citium laying its foundations. But it was through the wisdom of the Roman thinkers that Stoicism truly took shape and became the powerful philosophy we know today. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor; Epictetus, a former slave turned influential teacher; and Seneca, a renowned statesman and philosopher, all contributed to what Stoicism is today: a guide for how to live with resilience and inner peace. At its core, Stoicism is about learning to distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot. This simple, yet profound principle has the power to change the way you live your life. Think about it. How much energy do we waste worrying about things outside our control? How much mental anguish comes from trying to change what we simply cannot influence? Imagine freeing yourself from that burden. The Stoics believed that inner peace comes from understanding this distinction. The world outside will always be unpredictable and uncontrollable. But your mind? That's where you have true power. It's how you react to the world that defines your peace and strength, not the world itself. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is that we cannot control external events, things like other people's actions, the weather, or the economy. But we can control how we respond to these events. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire and dealt with wars, plagues, and constant political struggles, understood that even as the most powerful man in the world, he had limited control over external events. What he could control was his mind, his thoughts, his reactions. This concept is the foundation of Stoic thought. It's where real power lies, not in controlling others or manipulating the outside world, but in mastering yourself. When you fully understand this, you liberate yourself from unnecessary suffering. Most of our distress comes from trying to change things we can't, or from being overly affected by the uncontrollable. Think about your own life. How often do you get frustrated by things you cannot change? Someone else's rude behavior, a bad day at work, or even the weather. All of these things are outside your control, yet we often react as though we can influence them. The Stoics remind us to focus only on what's within our control: our thoughts, our actions, and how we respond. This is where the power of Stoicism really comes into play. Imagine the peace you could experience by letting go of things beyond your control. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In Stoicism, there's a clear distinction between what's within your control, your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, and what's not, the behavior of others, the past, and the unpredictable nature of life. By focusing your energy only on what you can change, you conserve your inner strength and minimize unnecessary suffering. Now think about this in the context of exposure: emotional, mental, and even physical. The less we expose ourselves to external forces beyond our control, the more power we retain over our inner world. The Stoics believed that unnecessary exposure, whether of our emotions, our thoughts, or our actions, makes us vulnerable. Vulnerable to criticism, to judgment, and to the chaos of the outside world. By focusing only on what's within, we maintain our inner strength. We don't waste energy trying to control things beyond us, and in turn we avoid unnecessary suffering. As we dive deeper into emotional, mental, and physical exposure, remember this fundamental Stoic teaching. Control what you can, let go of what you can't. It's not just a way to live. It's the key to resilience and inner peace. 2. Emotional exposure. In the age of social media, emotional exposure has become a common practice. From sharing our daily struggles to airing our deepest feelings, it seems as though the entire world is constantly revealing their emotions to the public. But while it may feel good to share in the moment, Stoicism offers us a powerful reminder. Not every emotion needs to be broadcast. In fact, exposing our emotions without reflection can make us vulnerable. When we share our emotions impulsively, we're inviting the opinions of others into our personal space. This can lead to a loss of control over our own feelings, as we start to rely on external validation for comfort. Whether it's seeking sympathy or approval, we give away a part of ourselves every time we overshare. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." What does this mean in the context of emotional exposure? It means that while life will inevitably throw challenges our way, it's our response that defines our peace of mind. If we react to every emotional impulse by expressing it publicly, we lose that control. When you expose your emotions too freely, especially in environments where others can judge or criticize, you give away your inner peace. You make yourself vulnerable to the opinions of people who may not have your best interests at heart. And that vulnerability can lead to more suffering. Stoicism teaches us that while emotions are natural, they're also temporary. They come and go like waves, and if we act on them impulsively, we may later regret what we've shared. Instead of reacting immediately, the Stoics encourage us to pause, reflect, and understand our feelings before expressing them to others. Instead of exposing your emotions to the world, consider reflecting on them privately. Journaling is one of the key practices in Stoicism and helps you process your emotions without external interference. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, often wrote in his personal journal to reflect on his thoughts and emotions. This was not for anyone else's eyes, it was for his own growth. By writing down your feelings instead of broadcasting them, you give yourself the space to process those emotions, to understand them fully before deciding if and how you want to share them. You also create an opportunity to distance yourself from impulsive reactions and look at the bigger picture. This is emotional resilience in action. Journaling offers a private space where you can explore your feelings without the pressure of external judgment. It allows you to be honest with yourself, while keeping control over who sees your inner world. This practice aligns with the Stoic principle of focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, your emotions, and how you choose to express them. Emotional exposure doesn't mean you should never share your feelings. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to be selective about when and with whom we share. After reflecting privately, sharing your emotions with a trusted friend or loved one can still be meaningful, but you do so from a place of strength rather than vulnerability. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions, it's about managing them. When you take the time to process your emotions privately, you reduce the risk of reacting impulsively or making yourself unnecessarily vulnerable. You strengthen your emotional resilience and maintain control over your inner peace. Emotional exposure can often lead to unnecessary suffering, especially when done without careful thought. By keeping certain feelings to yourself or sharing them only after reflection, you protect your inner world from outside influence. This gives you the power to navigate life with greater clarity, calm, and resilience. Epictetus reminds us that it's not external events that disturb us, but how we interpret and react to them. When we learn to manage our emotional exposure, We take control of our reactions, keeping our peace intact. So the next time you feel an impulse to share, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, do I really need to expose this emotion to the world? Or can I process it in a way that keeps me in control? 3. Mental exposure. Let's move on to mental exposure. We've all been there, caught in the heat of an argument or debate, feeling the pressure to prove ourselves right. But in our rush to share our thoughts and defend our opinions, we often expose more than we should. Mental exposure can reveal weaknesses in our reasoning, open us up to criticism, and pull us into unnecessary conflict. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor and philosopher, warned against wasting time on empty debates. He said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This advice reminds us that, in Stoicism, actions speak louder than words. Instead of trying to prove your worth through argument, show it through your behavior. The Stoics believed that we shouldn't waste our mental energy on endless debates or arguments, especially when the goal is simply to prove ourselves. Trying too hard to justify our thoughts can often backfire, making us appear defensive or insecure. When we engage in these kinds of mental exposures, revealing all our thoughts without reflection, we open ourselves up to criticism and judgment. In trying to convince others of our intellect or worth, we sometimes reveal our own insecurities. The more we talk, the more ammunition we give to those who disagree with us. And often, in the rush to speak, we lose sight of the truth. Stoicism teaches us the power of silence. Listening and observing can be far more effective than engaging in arguments. When we remain composed and thoughtful, we retain our mental power. We don't need to prove our intelligence or worth to others through endless talking. Silence, when used wisely, is a tool of strength. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, often emphasized the importance of restraint. He believed that wisdom comes not from speaking frequently, but from speaking thoughtfully. When we control our desire to prove ourselves, we also control the situation. We don't give others the opportunity to tear down our arguments or undermine our position. Speaking only when necessary allows your words to carry more weight. The less you say, the more people will listen when you do choose to speak. This is the essence of mental discipline in Stoicism, holding back when you don't need to speak and using your words wisely when you do. When you rush to share every thought, you not only expose yourself to scrutiny, but also dilute the power of your words. Keeping some thoughts to yourself doesn't mean you're hiding or avoiding conflict. It means you're choosing to act with wisdom. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. By controlling what you say, and when you say it, you maintain your mental power." Stoicism teaches us that mental strength comes from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. If you find yourself in a situation where you're tempted to prove yourself, pause and reflect. Is it really necessary? Do you need to convince others of your worth? Or can your actions speak for you? Mental exposure is a trap many of us fall into. We feel the need to share everything we think, to engage in every debate, to prove that we're knowledgeable or capable. But true wisdom often lies in restraint. When we choose to speak less, we allow our actions, our presence, and our few words to have greater impact. Just as a mountain stands strong in silence, so too should we. Strength is not always about being loud or dominant. Sometimes it's about being still and unshakable, choosing silence when it matters most. Silence doesn't mean passivity. It means control. Control over your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions. When you keep your mental power to yourself, you protect it from being diminished by the opinions and judgments of others. Remember, the Stoics knew that true strength lies not in what you say, but in how you choose to act. Choose your words wisely, and when in doubt, choose silence. In that silence, you will find your greatest power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Physical exposure. Physical exposure is often misunderstood as simply showing skin or revealing too much of yourself physically. But in the modern world, physical exposure goes beyond that. It's about flaunting your possessions, your lifestyle, or your achievements to gain approval or attention. Stoicism warns us against this kind of self-exposure because it ties our self-worth to external validation. How often do we feel the need to show others what we have, what we've achieved, or how we look? Whether it's posting about an expensive purchase, sharing an accomplishment, or flaunting physical attributes, this kind of exposure reveals a deeper insecurity, a craving for validation from others. The more we show, the more we depend on external opinions to feel good about ourselves. Seneca, a Roman Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." What does this mean? It's not about how much we possess, but about how much we desire approval and recognition. When we expose our material wealth or physical attributes, it shows that we crave more than just the possessions themselves. We crave the approval that comes with them. When you put your possessions, achievements, or physical attributes on display, you risk falling into the trap of comparison. No matter how much you have, there will always be someone who appears to have more. This constant need for validation turns into a cycle. Each time you expose yourself for approval, you become more dependent on the opinions of others, and less satisfied with what you already have. Physical exposure isn't just about what you show, it's about what you're seeking in return. The more you expose yourself for the sake of approval, the more you weaken your sense of inner contentment. You become trapped in a mindset where your value is tied to what others think of you. And when those opinions change or fade, so does your sense of worth. Stoicism teaches us that true contentment comes from within. You don't need to show the world what you've accomplished or what you own in order to feel validated. In fact, keeping your successes, your possessions, and your physical self to yourself can be a powerful way to protect your inner peace. When you choose not to expose your possessions or achievements, you guard your sense of self-worth. You remain grounded, knowing that your value doesn't depend on the opinions or admiration of others. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: to cultivate an internal sense of satisfaction, independent of external recognition. Seneca also said, "He who is brave is free." True freedom comes from not needing the approval of others to validate who you are or what you've achieved. When you stop exposing yourself for the sake of recognition, you reclaim your power. You are no longer controlled by the opinions of others, and you free yourself from the anxiety of constant comparison. When you stop seeking validation through exposure, you become more connected to the present moment. You no longer need to broadcast your success or flaunt what you have to feel good about yourself. Your inner contentment becomes your source of strength, and you free yourself from the cycle of seeking approval. Physical exposure, whether through material wealth or physical attributes, can make us vulnerable to the judgments of others. But when we choose to enjoy our success privately, we protect our self-worth. Stoicism reminds us that true strength and happiness come from within, not from what others think of us. The next time you feel the need to flaunt your success or material wealth, pause and ask yourself, who am I doing this for? Is it truly for me, or am I seeking approval? By choosing to keep these things to yourself, you protect your inner peace, and you free yourself from the need for external validation. Remember, as Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." When you stop craving the approval of others, you find that you already have everything you need. 5. The power of privacy. Privacy isn't just about keeping secrets or hiding parts of yourself from others. It's about protecting your inner world, the space where your thoughts, emotions, and true self reside. In today's world, where sharing is constant and oversharing is encouraged, the act of maintaining privacy can be one of the most powerful forms of self-discipline. Marcus Aurelius, One of the most renowned Stoic philosophers once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." What he meant is that your thoughts shape your reality. When you keep your thoughts, emotions, and achievements private, you shield them from the chaos and noise of the outside world. You maintain control over what matters most: your inner peace. Privacy, in the context of Stoicism, is not about withdrawing from society or isolating yourself completely. It's about setting boundaries to protect your inner tranquility. When you guard your thoughts and emotions from being constantly shared or judged by others, you maintain a sense of ownership over your inner life. You're not giving away your mental energy or peace to the external world, which is often filled with distractions, judgments, and noise. In today's culture, it can feel like we need to share every detail of our lives, our opinions, our successes, even our failures, for validation or connection. But the Stoics teach us that true strength comes from within, not from the approval or recognition of others. By keeping parts of your life private, you create a buffer that protects your mind and soul from the ups and downs of external influence. Marcus Aurelius practiced this himself. As the emperor of Rome, he could have easily sought validation from others or flaunted his power, but instead, he maintained a disciplined inner life. He wrote in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Maintaining privacy allows you to exercise that power fully, without the need to expose yourself to the judgments, opinions, or distractions of others. In Stoicism, privacy is not a form of hiding or running away from life. It's a form of self-preservation. When you keep your inner world, your thoughts, feelings, and personal growth protected from the public eye, you give yourself the space to grow, reflect, and stay grounded in your values. You're not distracted by what others think or expect of you. Many of us feel the pressure to share our lives constantly, on social media, at work, even in our personal relationships. But when you overshare, you expose your vulnerabilities to the opinions and judgments of others. The more you share, the more you open yourself up to the outside world's influence. Stoicism reminds us that true power lies in maintaining control over our inner world, and that means protecting your privacy. By choosing not to share every thought or emotion, you cultivate inner strength. You become more selective in how you use your energy and who you share your personal life with. As Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, said, "Silence is safer than speech." In this silence and the privacy of your own thoughts and reflections, you find the space to grow, to think deeply, and to strengthen your sense of self. Privacy offers protection. It shields your mental and emotional state from the chaotic forces of the world. It allows you to cultivate a rich inner life that is not constantly exposed to the opinions of others. It's in this private space that you can truly reflect, grow, and nurture the person you want to become. When you embrace the power of privacy, you're not withdrawing from life. You're simply creating boundaries to preserve your peace. In a world that thrives on constant exposure and sharing, choosing to keep parts of your life private can be one of the greatest acts of self-care and discipline. Remember, protecting your inner world isn't about shutting out the world. It's about knowing when to let the world in and when to keep your peace protected. By guarding your privacy, you maintain control over your most valuable asset, your mind. 6. The balance of sharing. While Stoicism teaches us the value of privacy and guarding our inner world, it doesn't mean we should never share anything with others. The philosophy isn't about isolation or shutting people out, but about being selective and intentional with what we share, and with whom. Sharing becomes powerful when it is done with purpose, in the right context, and with the right people. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, deeply valued the importance of close, meaningful relationships. He once said, "One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. Stoicism teaches that true connection comes from these deep bonds of trust, where you can open up without fear of judgment. Sharing deeply with those who truly understand you is not only a part of life, but it's essential for personal growth. True friendship, according to the Stoics, is about mutual support, understanding, and respect. In these trusted relationships, sharing your thoughts and feelings can help strengthen the bond, build emotional resilience, and offer you a sense of security. The key here is discernment, knowing who to trust with your inner world. On the other hand, sharing too much with people who don't have your best interests at heart can leave you vulnerable. Oversharing, whether with acquaintances or strangers, exposes your inner self to potential judgment, criticism, and misunderstanding. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Letting too many people into your inner world can cloud that quality, especially if they don't truly understand or respect you. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your emotions, or your struggles. This doesn't mean you should keep everything to yourself, but it does mean you should choose wisely who gets to see your vulnerable side. When you share wisely, you maintain control over your inner peace, allowing yourself to reflect without external pressure. Sharing isn't about closing yourself off completely. It's about understanding who in your life deserves your openness. Be open with those who have proven their trust and loyalty, those who value and understand you. But be cautious about exposing your vulnerabilities to the world at large. That's a different story entirely. When you overshare with people who don't have your best interests at heart, you risk giving away your emotional power. In Stoicism, the balance of sharing is crucial. We are social beings, and meaningful relationships are a source of strength and support. But oversharing, especially with the wrong people, can drain your energy and leave you feeling exposed. When you strike the right balance, sharing becomes a tool of connection rather than a source of vulnerability. It's important to share your struggles, your joys, and your experiences, but only with those who truly care and have your best interests at heart. True strength, as the Stoics teach, lies in maintaining your personal power while also opening up to those who genuinely support you. Remember, sharing is a gift, but it's a gift that should be given with intention and care. When you share wisely, you nurture meaningful relationships, protect your emotional well-being, and maintain control over your inner peace. Balance is the key. Share wisely with those who matter, and guard your inner world from those who don't. This is the Stoic way to preserve your personal power, while still building meaningful connections. When you master the art of selective sharing, you not only protect yourself, but you also enrich your relationships with the people who truly deserve to see your most authentic self. True friendship is a rare and beautiful thing. Share your inner world with those who value it, and you'll maintain the strength and peace that Stoicism encourages. 8. How to apply Stoic wisdom in your life. So how can you apply this Stoic wisdom to your daily life? In a world where it's easy to feel pressured to share everything, from thoughts to emotions to achievements, Stoicism offers us a different path. Here are some practical steps to help you avoid unnecessary exposure, protect your inner strength, and maintain your personal power. First, practice mindful silence. Silence doesn't mean passivity, it's a tool for reflection. You don't need to share every thought or emotion that comes to mind. Often we feel the urge to fill silence with words, but in Stoicism, silence can be more powerful than speech. By not reacting immediately, you maintain control over your emotions and your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best answer to anger is silence." When you hold back, you give yourself the space to process your emotions and think things through before reacting. This keeps you grounded, calm, and in control, instead of letting others dictate your response. Second, reflect before you share. In today's world of instant communication, it's easy to feel like we need to share everything. But Stoicism teaches us to ask ourselves, Why am I sharing this? What is my motivation? Are you sharing because you want validation or attention? Or is this truly meaningful to the conversation? Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you take a moment to reflect before you share, you regain control over how you present yourself to the world. You avoid emotional exposure, and you share with purpose, not out of impulse or insecurity. Third, set boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, emotions, or successes. Boundaries are crucial in protecting your inner world. The Stoics believed that while we cannot control what others do or say, we can control how much we allow them into our lives. Setting boundaries doesn't mean shutting people out completely. It means being selective about who you allow into your inner circle. Seneca advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. By being intentional about what you share and with whom, you ensure that your emotional energy is preserved for those who truly matter. Boundaries are essential, not just in your physical life but also in your digital life. Don't feel obligated to share everything with everyone. Protect your peace by deciding who has access to your personal information and emotions. Finally, focus on internal validation. In Stoicism, one of the most important lessons is that true strength comes from within. You don't need others to approve of your worth. Your value doesn't depend on how many likes you get on social media or how many people praise your achievements. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you shift your focus inward, you stop seeking validation from others. You become your own source of confidence, relying on your inner strength rather than external approval. Focusing on internal validation means recognizing your own worth, independent of how others perceive you. It's about cultivating a strong sense of self that isn't swayed by external opinions, judgments, or approval. This is the ultimate form of personal power. By practicing mindful silence, reflecting before you share, setting boundaries, and focusing on internal validation, you can apply the timeless wisdom of Stoicism to protect your inner peace. In a world that often demands constant exposure, these practices help you maintain control over your emotions, thoughts, and personal power. Remember, the less you expose, the more you control. Protect your inner world, and you'll find strength in the quiet moments. 8. Closing thoughts. In a world that demands our attention and emotions at every turn, it's easy to feel like we must constantly reveal ourselves, our thoughts, our feelings, our opinions, to stay connected, to prove that we matter. But what if I told you that true strength and freedom come from the opposite? What if the real power lies not in how much we expose, but in how much we guard? Stoicism teaches us a path that goes against the grain of our modern world. It offers a different way to live. The less you expose, the more you control. By guarding your inner world, by not allowing every external force to dictate how you feel or act, you maintain personal power, true, unshakable power. Think about it. In every interaction, every moment of conflict, there's an opportunity to either expose your emotions or keep them in check. When you choose the latter, you choose peace over turmoil, wisdom over impulse. That doesn't mean suppressing who you are or living a life devoid of passion. It means cultivating the wisdom to know when to speak and when to remain silent. It means protecting your energy, your emotions, and your peace from external forces that don't deserve your vulnerability. By guarding what's within, you learn to live with intention. You stop reacting to every little thing and instead you respond with thoughtfulness and purpose. You become the master of your own life. That's the essence of Stoicism. Remember, the more you expose yourself to the world, the more you allow the world to control you. But by holding back, by practicing restraint, you preserve your peace. You protect your inner world. And in that, you find true strength. So, as you navigate this noisy world, where opinions are loud and emotions run high, Remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Guard your heart. Guard your mind. The less you expose, the more you control. And through that control, you'll live a life of peace, purpose, and unbreakable strength. Want to learn more about how Stoic philosophy can transform your life? Hit that subscribe button for more insights on wisdom, resilience, and inner peace.